My daughter secretly changed her last name to her stepfather's without telling me, and I only found out when her wedding invitation listed him as father of the bride. But when I discovered they had been stealing from her college fund that I'd been paying into for years to finance their luxury vacations, I gave her the perfect wedding gift by exposing the truth to everyone at the reception. The wedding invitation arrived on a Tuesday afternoon in March, and at first glance, it looked like any other elegant wedding announcement. Cream-colored cardstock with gold lettering, announcing the marriage of my daughter to her longtime boyfriend. I felt the familiar mix of pride and melancholy that comes with watching your child reach major life milestones. Then I read the names more carefully, and my world tilted. The bride was listed as Sophia Thomas Webb, not Sophia Thomas as I'd known her for 23 years. The father of the bride was listed as Robert Webb, the man who had married my ex-wife 5 years earlier. My name appeared nowhere on the invitation, not even as a guest, though I later learned I'd been included only because my daughter had been required to invite me to avoid family drama. I sat in my kitchen holding that invitation for what felt like hours, trying to process what I was seeing. My daughter had taken her stepfather's name and was having him walk her down the aisle, giving him the honor that should have been mine. More than that, she'd apparently done this without ever telling me, letting me discover it through a wedding invitation like I was some distant relative. The hurt was immediate and overwhelming. I'd been a devoted father throughout Sophia's childhood, even after her mother and I divorced when she was 12. I'd never missed a child support payment, had attended every school event, had been present for every important moment in her life, until she started pulling away during college. I'd attributed that distance to normal growing up, to her busy schedule, to the natural process of young adults becoming independent. I'd never imagined that she was systematically removing me from her identity and replacing me with Robert. The more I thought about it, the more details started falling into place. Sophia had been evasive about her plans after college, vague about her living situation, dismissive when I asked about her finances or her future goals. Our conversations had become surface level and brief, with her always seeming eager to end our calls. I'd assumed she was just busy with adult life, but now I realized she'd been deliberately keeping me at arm's length while building a new family identity that didn't include me. My first instinct was to call Sophia directly and ask her to explain, but something held me back. Maybe it was wounded pride, or maybe it was the realization that this level of deception suggested problems much deeper than a simple misunderstanding. Instead, I decided to do some investigating before confronting anyone. I started with social media, looking through Sophia's profiles more carefully than I had in months. What I found was illuminating and painful. Every recent post referred to Robert as her dad or father figure. Photos from family vacations showed Sophia, her mother Lisa, and Robert looking like a perfect nuclear family. There were posts about Robert teaching her to drive stick shift, Robert helping her move into her first apartment, Robert giving her advice about her career. Meanwhile, I appeared in exactly 0 recent photos or posts. It was as if I'd been completely erased from her life and replaced by Robert, who'd been playing the devoted father role while I'd been relegated to the sidelines. The social media investigation also revealed something else that caught my attention. Sophia, Lisa, and Robert had taken several expensive vacations over the past few years. European trips, luxury resorts, first-class flights to destinations I could never afford. Lisa had never been wealthy, and as far as I knew, Robert worked in middle management at a manufacturing company. Their lifestyle seemed inconsistent with their apparent income. This observation led me to look more closely at the financial aspects of our family situation. I'd been paying substantial child support until Sophia turned 18, and I'd continued contributing to her college expenses and a college fund account that Lisa managed. I'd trusted Lisa to use the money appropriately for Sophia's education and future. I decided to request records from the financial institution where Sophia's college fund was held. As the account co-owner, I had the right to review all transactions and balances. What I discovered when those records arrived made my blood boil. The college fund account, which should have contained over $40,000 based on my contributions and accumulated interest, had a current balance of less than $3,000. Large withdrawals had been made regularly over the past 2 years, far exceeding what Sophia's college expenses should have cost. When I compared the withdrawal dates to Lisa and Robert's social media posts about their vacations and luxury purchases, the pattern became clear. They'd been using Sophia's college fund as their personal vacation account, stealing money I'd intended for my daughter's future to finance their lifestyle upgrades. The records showed withdrawals for amounts that exactly matched their vacation expenses, down to the date. A $5,000 withdrawal in June corresponded to their anniversary trip to Italy. A $3,000 withdrawal in December matched their Christmas vacation to a ski resort. They'd been systematically draining my daughter's future to pay for their present indulgences. I felt sick thinking about how many extra shifts I'd worked, how many luxuries I'd given up, how carefully I'd budgeted to make sure Sophia would have financial support for college and beyond. Meanwhile, Lisa and Robert had been treating my contributions like their personal entertainment fund. But the financial theft was just the beginning of what I discovered. When I looked more carefully at Sophia's college records, I found that she'd taken out substantial student loans to pay for expenses that should have been covered by her college fund. She was starting her adult life with debt that could have been avoided if Lisa and Robert hadn't stolen her money. The cruel irony was that Sophia probably resented me for not providing more financial support, not knowing that I'd actually been providing plenty of support that was being diverted to fund her mother and stepfather's lifestyle. I spent weeks gathering evidence and documenting the theft. Bank records, social media posts, receipts, and correspondence all told the same story. Lisa and Robert had betrayed my trust and stolen from my daughter, while manipulating her into believing that I was the absent, unsupportive parent. As Sophia's wedding approached, I had to decide how to handle what I'd discovered. Part of me wanted to confront Lisa and Robert privately, but I realized that would give them the opportunity to create some alternative narrative or cover story. They'd already proven themselves to be skilled liars and manipulators. Instead, I decided that the truth should come out in a way that made it impossible for them to spin or deny. If Sophia wanted Robert to be her father figure, and if she wanted to exclude me from her wedding, then I'd give her a wedding gift that would help her understand the real character of the people she'd chosen over me. I prepared a comprehensive dossier of evidence showing the financial theft. Bank statements, withdrawal records, vacation receipts, social media posts, everything organized chronologically to show the clear pattern of Lisa and Robert stealing from Sophia's college fund to pay for their luxury lifestyle. I also prepared a letter explaining how I discovered the theft, how it had affected Sophia's financial situation, and how disappointed I was that she'd been deceived by people who claimed to love her while stealing from her future. My plan was simple. I'd attend the wedding as invited, bring the evidence with me, and find an appropriate moment to present Sophia with the truth about her mother and stepfather. Not as an act of revenge, but as an act of love from a father who wanted his daughter to understand reality before she started her own family. Part 2. My daughter secretly changed her last name to her stepfather's without telling me, and I only found out when her wedding invitation listed him as father of the bride. But when I discovered they had been stealing from her college fund that I'd been paying into for years to finance their luxury vacations, I gave her the perfect wedding gift by exposing the truth to everyone at the reception. Update 1. The wedding was everything I'd expected it would be. Elegant, expensive, and designed to showcase Lisa and Robert's perfect family image. I watched from my assigned seat in the back as Robert walked my daughter down the aisle, as he gave her away to her new husband, as he was thanked during the speeches for being such a wonderful father figure. Sophia looked beautiful, and I felt the complex mix of pride and heartbreak that comes with watching your child get married while knowing you've been excluded from one of the most important days of her life. During the cocktail hour, I had brief conversations with relatives and family friends who seemed uncomfortable about my presence. It was clear that Lisa had been managing the narrative about our family situation, and most people seemed to believe that I'd been an absent or difficult father who'd lost the right to be involved in Sophia's life. I waited until after dinner and the formal speeches to make my move. The reception was winding down, people were dancing and socializing, and I approached Sophia when she was momentarily alone at the head table. I told her that I had a wedding gift for her, something important that she needed to see. She seemed surprised, but accepted the envelope I handed her, probably expecting a check or a sentimental card. Instead, she found copies of bank statements showing the systematic theft from her college fund, along with corresponding social media posts showing her mother and Robert's luxury vacations funded by money that was supposed to be for her education. Sophia's face went through a series of emotions as she reviewed the documents. Confusion, disbelief, and then growing anger as the pattern became clear. She looked up at me with questions in her eyes, and I explained quietly that I'd been paying into her college fund for years, money that was supposed to secure her future, but had instead been used to finance vacations and luxuries for her mother and stepfather. I told her that I'd discovered the theft while trying to understand why she'd changed her name and excluded me from her wedding. I explained that I wasn't trying to ruin her wedding day, but that she deserved to know the truth about people who'd been lying to her while stealing from her. Sophia's reaction was immediate and explosive. She confronted her mother and Robert right there at the reception, demanding an explanation for what she'd discovered. Lisa tried to deflect and minimize, claiming that the money had been used for family expenses, and that I was trying to cause trouble on Sophia's wedding day. But Robert's reaction was telling. He became defensive and angry, accusing me of being vindictive and trying to destroy their family. His aggressive response made it clear that he knew exactly what he'd done and felt entitled to do it. The confrontation escalated quickly. Other family members and wedding guests became aware that something dramatic was happening. Sophia's new husband tried to intervene and calm the situation, but Sophia was furious and wanted answers. Lisa eventually admitted that they'd used money from the college fund for other purposes, but claimed it had always been temporary and that they'd planned to pay it back. She said that Robert had been having some financial difficulties and that they'd needed to borrow from the fund to get through tough times. This explanation only made Sophia angrier. She pointed out that she'd taken out student loans and worked multiple jobs to pay for college expenses that should have been covered by the fund. She'd struggled financially, while her mother and stepfather were taking luxury vacations with money that belonged to her. The wedding reception essentially ended at that point. Guests were uncomfortable and confused. The happy couple was in the middle of a family crisis, and Lisa and Robert were exposed as thieves and liars in front of everyone who mattered to them. Sophia left her own wedding reception early, taking the evidence with her and telling Robert that he was no longer her father in any sense of the word. She told Lisa that she was disgusted by the betrayal and that she needed time to process what she'd learned. I left shortly after, feeling vindicated but also sad that it had come to this. I'd wanted Sophia to know the truth, but I'd also wanted her to have a perfect wedding day. The two goals had proven incompatible. Update 2. 3 weeks after the wedding, Sophia called me for the first time in months. She'd spent the time investigating the full extent of the financial theft and had discovered even more evidence of Lisa and Robert's deception. Sophia had contacted the college fund administrator directly and obtained complete records of all transactions. The theft was even worse than I'd initially discovered. Over the course of 2 years, Lisa and Robert had withdrawn nearly $45,000 from the account, money that had been earmarked for Sophia's education and future. Sophia had also reviewed her own financial records and realized how much unnecessary debt she'd taken on because she believed her college fund was empty or insufficient. She'd worked herself to exhaustion during college, taking on multiple jobs and stress that could have been avoided if her mother and stepfather hadn't been stealing from her. During our phone conversation, Sophia apologized for changing her name without telling me and for excluding me from her wedding planning. She explained that Lisa had been gradually poisoning her opinion of me over the years, telling her that I was unreliable, selfish, and didn't really care about her future. Lisa had convinced Sophia that I made my child support payments reluctantly and that I complained constantly about the financial burden she represented. She painted Robert as the generous, supportive father figure who'd stepped up when it supposedly stepped back. Sophia now realized that Lisa's narrative had been completely false. I'd been providing substantial financial support that was being stolen and diverted, while Lisa convinced Sophia that I was neglecting my responsibilities. The name change, Sophia explained, had been Robert's idea. He'd suggested that she'd feel more like part of their family if she took his name, and Lisa had encouraged it as a way of moving forward from the past. Sophia had been reluctant initially, but had eventually agreed after months of pressure. She'd kept it secret from me because she'd known it would hurt me, but she'd convinced herself that I probably wouldn't care that much since I'd supposedly been absent and disengaged from her life. Sophia was now seeing the situation clearly for the first time. She realized that she'd been manipulated into pushing away a father who'd actually been devoted to her, while embracing a stepfather who'd been stealing from her future. The financial implications were serious. Sophia had graduated college with $30,000 in student loan debt that could have been avoided. Her credit had been damaged by the financial stress she'd experienced. Her career choices had been limited by her need to prioritize immediate income over long-term goals. Sophia had confronted Lisa and Robert again, this time with complete documentation of their theft. She demanded that they pay back every penny they'd stolen, with interest, within 90 days. Lisa and Robert's response was to claim that the money had been used for family expenses that benefited Sophia indirectly. They argued that they'd provided her with a stable home environment and family support that was worth more than the money they'd taken. This argument enraged Sophia even more. She pointed out that they'd been living in luxury while she'd been struggling financially, and that stealing from her college fund had directly harmed her future prospects. When Lisa and Robert refused to commit to paying back the money, Sophia took the step I'd been hoping she'd take. She contacted a lawyer to explore her legal options for recovering the stolen funds. Part 3. My daughter secretly changed her last name to her stepfather's without telling me, and I only found out when her wedding invitation listed him as father of the bride. But when I discovered they had been stealing from her college fund that I'd been paying into for years to finance their luxury vacations, I gave her the perfect wedding gift by exposing the truth to everyone at the reception. The lawyer confirmed that Lisa and Robert's actions constituted theft and breach of fiduciary duty. They'd been managing money that belonged to Sophia and had used it for their own benefit without authorization. The case was straightforward and winnable. Sophia filed a civil lawsuit against Lisa and Robert, seeking full restitution of the stolen, money plus interest, legal fees, and damages for the financial harm they'd caused her. The lawsuit became public record, and news of the case spread through their social circle quickly. People who'd attended the wedding and witnessed the confrontation now understood the full context of what had happened. Lisa and Robert's reputation in their community was destroyed. They were known as the couple who'd stolen from their daughter's college fund to pay for vacations, then manipulated her into rejecting her biological father who'd actually been supporting her financially. Update 3. 6 months after the wedding, the legal and personal consequences of exposing Lisa and Robert's theft have completely transformed our family dynamics, and Sophia and I have rebuilt our relationship stronger than it ever was before. The civil lawsuit was settled out of court when Lisa and Robert realized they had no viable defense for their actions. They agreed to pay back the full amount they'd stolen from Sophia's college fund, plus interest and legal fees, totaling nearly $60,000. To come up with the money, Lisa and Robert had to sell their house and downsize to a small apartment. They also had to liquidate their savings and retirement accounts. The luxury lifestyle they'd been financing with Sophia's money came to an abrupt end. Robert lost his job when word of the lawsuit reached his employer. Apparently, a manufacturing company doesn't want managers who steal from children's college funds representing their organization. He's been unable to find comparable employment since then, partly because of his damaged reputation, and partly because of his age and limited skills. Lisa's relationships with her extended family and social circle have been permanently damaged. Most people find it difficult to maintain friendships with someone who'd steal from her own daughter's future. She's become socially isolated and bitter. The most satisfying consequence has been watching their marriage deteriorate under the financial and social pressure. Without the stolen money to fund their lifestyle, and without the shared project of excluding me from Sophia's life, Lisa and Robert have had to confront the reality of their relationship. It turns out that when you remove luxury vacations, expensive dinners, and the drama of family manipulation, Lisa and Robert don't actually have much in common or much to talk about. Their marriage was largely built on shared indulgences and shared enemies, neither of which they have anymore. Sophia has completely cut contact with both Lisa and Robert. She changed her name back to Thomas and has started the process of rebuilding her relationship with me and my side of the family. We now have dinner together every week, and Sophia has met my girlfriend Rebecca, who I'd been hesitant to introduce while our relationship was strained. Sophia and Rebecca get along wonderfully, and Rebecca has been incredibly supportive of our reconciliation process. Sophia has also reconnected with my parents, her paternal grandparents, who she'd been gradually distanced from over the years. They're thrilled to have their granddaughter back in their lives, and have been helping her understand family history and traditions she'd been cut off from. Most importantly, Sophia and I have been able to have honest conversations about what happened during the years when our relationship deteriorated. She shared how Lisa gradually poisoned her opinion of me, and I've explained how hurt and confused I was by her growing distance. We've both acknowledged our mistakes. I should have been more proactive about investigating why Sophia was pulling away, and Sophia should have communicated with me directly instead of accepting Lisa's version of events without question. But we've also recognized that we were both victims of Lisa and Robert's manipulation. They benefited from keeping us apart because it allowed them to control the narrative and the money without interference. Sophia has used the recovered money to pay off her student loans completely and has been able to make career choices based on her interests rather than her immediate financial needs. She started graduate school in a program she's passionate about, something she couldn't have afforded before recovering her stolen funds. The wedding situation has also been resolved in a way that feels healing for both of us. Sophia and her husband held a small vow renewal ceremony for their 6-month anniversary, and this time I walked her down the aisle as her father. It was a beautiful, intimate celebration that felt much more meaningful than the original wedding. Looking back, I'm grateful that I discovered the truth about Lisa and Robert's theft, even though the process was painful. Sophia deserved to know what kind of people she'd been trusting with her future, and I deserved to have my daughter understand that I'd never abandoned or neglected her. The experience has taught both of us valuable lessons about the importance of direct communication and the dangers of allowing other people to mediate our relationship. We've committed to maintaining regular contact and honest dialogue going forward. Lisa occasionally tries to contact Sophia through mutual friends or distant relatives, usually with messages about how sorry she is and how much she misses having Sophia in her life. But Sophia has made it clear that reconciliation isn't possible unless Lisa takes full responsibility for her actions and makes meaningful amends. So far, Lisa's apologies have focused on being sorry that she got caught rather than being sorry for what she did. Until that changes, Sophia has no interest in rebuilding their relationship. Robert, meanwhile, has made no attempt to apologize or reconcile. He apparently still believes that he was justified in taking Sophia's money, and that I'm the villain in this story for exposing his theft. His stubbornness has made it easier for Sophia to write him off completely. The entire experience has reinforced for me the importance of fighting for relationships that matter, even when the situation seems hopeless. I could have accepted Sophia's distance and exclusion as permanent, but investigating the real reasons behind her behavior led to discovering the truth that set us both free. Sophia often tells me now that she's grateful I chose to expose Lisa and Robert at her wedding, even though it was painful at the time. She says that if I hadn't presented her with the evidence, she might have gone years or even decades without learning the truth about their theft and manipulation. Our relationship now is built on honesty, mutual respect, and genuine affection rather than on obligation or family duty. We choose to spend time together because we enjoy each other's company, not because we feel like we have to maintain appearances. I've also learned to appreciate the people who supported me during the years when Sophia was distant, and I felt like I was losing my daughter forever. My parents, my siblings, and friends like Rebecca, who reminded me that I was a good father and that the situation wasn't my fault. The wedding invitation that broke my heart ended up being the beginning of getting my daughter back. Sometimes the most painful discoveries lead to the most important truths, and sometimes the people who hurt us most end up revealing their own character in ways that set us free.